Well, this broadcast is inappropriate for all ages right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. It's time for Bad Movie Club. Maybe you need to do like a blobfish mascot or something. Salutations, I am Camry and I am conversation ready. We're here today to talk about Clerks 2 a little bit as we get together to talk about fucking bad movies. Movies so bad they've been manifest by our Lord Nurgle. Jesus, that was horrible. He heard me talking about him and affected the camera. That's not at all what happened, but that's we can pretend. Let's have a little fun. Pretend. Use your imagination again. And go back and remember that we watched Clerks 2 over on Rabbit/Camry. And this is a good, fun movie. I know this is Bad Movie Club. And yeah, we're ironically doing a Kevin Smith series right now and until I run out of them. And then we'll do, at the end of the series, because I know Moose Jaws won't be out yet. It just won't happen. We'll do Cop Out, which is a legitimately somewhat bad movie. It just didn't flow very well. We'll get there. We'll do Hulk, and then I'm probably back to theater mode because fuck, I don't know. Oh, Captain America might happen. That's what I might do. I may go back and find like the bad superhero movies from way back when, like Blade. Just kidding. I don't know. Maybe Blade 3 could definitely happen. So Clerks 2. Let's go to the show notes. This is a Kevin Smith movie. This is the sequel to Clerks. Honestly, it's the sixth part of the Jay and Silent Bob trilogy or saga, whatever you want to call it. The story, whatever. Where Jay and Silent Bob were supposed to be the end of it. Like the demand kept coming for more Jay and Silent Bob, more Clerks. And I think, if I remember correctly, this was originally supposed to be Mallrats 2. And it just kept getting rewrit. Let's go ahead and do this, see if we can't stop that from happening. It just kept getting rewritten until it became Clerks 2. And God, I really think they did a good job with this. It's a really funny movie, even if it's not a good movie. We'll put that in quotes. It's damn well enjoyable. Rosario Dawson's a real treat to add to the cast. Dante and Randall are as good as they were in Clerks. And Jay and Silent Bob being back, of course, is wonderful. I like me a little Jay and Silent Bob, even if they're weird character basis. And the characters themselves are fine. I just meant more of them being drug dealers. And I was so excited, and I was talking to a guy who apparently looks like Jason Mewes. He does a little bit. He showed me on his camera. Like Dante comes and opens the shutters to the quick stop. And everything's on fire, and it's still in black and white. That was a really beautiful touch to continue the black and white motif until he opens the shutters for a second time, because he's like, he opens it, it's like everything's burning. He puts it down, he's like, it'll be better when I open it this time, right? Nope. And then we hit color because we get inundated with reality. And Randall's stupid ass walks right into a burning building just because, not because he's an idiot per se, just because he can't be bothered to pay attention to anything that would even affect him until it stops him from doing what he wants to do. So he literally walks all the way into the store, and I want to see what that looked like when Randall walked into that store. Like the moment clarity hit, and of course he blames terrorists. Then he left the coffee pot on. But the worst he could say about it is, despite how much they get into how much he misses it later, he's like, where am I gonna bring chicks to fuck when my mom's home? Because that's the type of character Randall is. Not a very redeemable character in the long and short of it. And we'll probably go through this really quick because a lot of the jokes are really subtle. It's very similar to Thor Ragnarok in that realm. It's like the jokes are very subtle. They keep the story moving forward. They tend to be like a conversation. I can summarize the conversation and share my point. But there's not really a whole lot to talk about other than to enjoy. Unless you're doing an expanding dialogue with somebody else. and I'm here by myself. The cats don't like movies. So until somebody steps up and yells at me on Camera 25 on the Twitters, or at WeAreMovieClub on the Twitters, it's probably the better one to give you. What is the deal? Maybe it's just how shiny my head gets. I don't know. Ooh, space wizard. Okay, anyways, let's move on. So Dante and Randall, it's like 10 years later or something. Well, not 10 years, because he worked at the Quick Stop for 10 years. That's what the line was. So they end up having a movie, or they end up working at movies. If you remember from Dogma, it was the restaurant that they used there. It's dressed up to look like Movie The Golden Calf's restaurant. It's very obviously like an allusion to McDonald's, even though McDonald's and Wendy's kind of show up there. So, and if I remember correctly, it's a Burger King they refitted, actually. But Dante and Randall drive in. They have a little talk about how they how Randall misses the Quick Stop, and Dante's like, "Oh, God smited that place." But if you're paying attention to the first movie and the characters, how they behave so far, Randall's kind of the romantic person, where Dante's very much like a very negative pragmatist, where he just kind of like whines about shit. So obviously Dante is wrong in this scenario from the perspective of the story, that like it's not just some hellhole that he got rid of. It's something that was important to their lives in some way, shape, or fashion. Because honestly, there's not a lot. It's the beginning of the movie. But Randall makes as much a point. So, yay. So they go and open the restaurant. There's a whole montage about opening the restaurant, which you probably could have got rid of. And of course, Jay and Silent Bob show up. Like, they have like the van go by, and then all of a sudden they're there. It's kind of cute, like Jay and Silent Bob follow Dante and Randall to this new movies instead of hanging out at the Quick Stop still. Though it's probably a little obvious if you're hanging out at a business that's closed. But especially after like Jay and Silent Bob, where they're kind of like searching for their new place once they're banned from the Quick Stop, it's interesting that they don't like roam more, or that they feel so at home at the movies. Let's see here. Really early into the movie, I thought they did this conversation. Randall is like slandering some guy on on his website, and it turns out the guy's a paraplegic. He can't use his legs. He's stuck in a wheelchair. And so Randall's talking about like taking the perception of, or the opposite angle of appreciating the ability to walk, the ability to enjoy your functioning legs. So Randall likes to hold, because he's a petty motherfucker, hold it over the guy that he has the ability to use his legs and doesn't. He'd rather drive to the end of the block, sit on the couch all day, stupid shit like that. Again, not the most redeemable character, and often the idiot, but the idealist, the romantic of the two, for sure. So it starts this whole thing about like how the guy's like Anne Frank, and Dante's confused, as well as anyone who's educated should, because he references the miracle worker, so obviously he means Helen Keller. But we run to a separate thing where Anne Frank is the little girl who hid in the attic and wrote in a diary. So the wheelchair guy is like Anne Frank, but is also handy-capable, not like Helen Keller, but similar. So again, when Randall is actually right about him being more like Anne Frank, it's kind of this foreshadowing thing where it's like Randall's right, but in extreme circumstance, where Dante is frustrated and probably slightly wrong. Let's see. Oh yeah, so we have the whole Mrs. Hicks storyline, played by Kevin Smith's wife, Jennifer Schwalbach. I think that's her name. I promised I'd remember, and I didn't even look it up, but I did eventually remember. So, haha, promise fulfilled. She's wearing like a Mrs. Hicks t-shirt. She's the over-enthusiastic fiance who is well-to-do. I have no idea how she even met Dante, let alone like actually went with him. Oh no, I take that back. Her character is kind of energetic, alpha, and overbearing. Dante is a little fucking wuss and wants people to make decisions for him so that he doesn't have to put in the effort. So it works because he's willing to work, just not make decisions that are important to life, etc. So it's actually kind of a convenient match, or a marriage of convenience, if you will. So of course, like they're going to Florida of all places. Still don't know why people want to go to fucking Florida. I fought hard to get out of there, or I sacrificed at least. As did other people. Ugh. So like we have that whole thing on the horizon that kind of shows who Dante is that he's a pragmatist. He's gonna take advantage of the situation to kind of better himself without putting in the I guess social effort. I don't know what you call it. We've got Elias who comes in. His parents drop him off. He's the happy-go-lucky Christian kid. Though, at one point in the movie, he's like, say what you want about Jesus, but leave the rings out of it, Randall. Because he's more of a nerd than he is religious, which is, to me, like, is funny as hell. I think it's supposed to be a small dig at religion, because, again, given Dogma, Kevin Smith has had a crisis of faith. There's other things going on with his brother there, because his brother's gay, and like so he tries to put little things in. So Elias is kind of our everyman, like where it shows people being hypocritical. He's a good addition to the other two, because not only do you have your standard formulas amongst everything, but you have this somewhat sheltered everyman who is there for the audience on the ride of discovering all this stuff with us from these people. So Randall's harassed him. He's like taping dicks over his picture for Employee of the Month. He's throwing paper balls at him the whole time he's talking to him. It's like a happy puppy waiting to play. So he just comes in and he's like, I'm going to get you. And he just starts chewing your ankle until you give him what he wants. And maybe it's just he wants to chew your ankle. But it leads into like a weird conversation that kind of shows exactly what I was just talking about, that he's more geek than religious, where he kind of has this like proven flow chart or whatever, where it proves that Transformers aren't sinful. It's not wrong to... It's probably still wrong to worship the Transformers, don't get me wrong, but it's okay to enjoy them or admire the idea of them. I don't know. But like, there's a funny ending to it where they go through and like they do like a heavy metal chant at him, and it's where it's like referencing Dark Forces, and like Jade is this really cool thing where he climbs through the window. Of course, Silent Bob just sticks his head in. But if you've ever worked at a drive-through, that is not an easy fucking task to slip through one of those drive-through windows. They're not big, and they're not designed for you to do that at all. Let's see. So, of course, Becky, Rosario Dawson's character, comes in. She's the boss. There's obviously something special between Dante and Becky, and like they do the whole will she won't a nonsense trope throughout the entire movie. And I don't even know why bother with the pretense. It's such an obvious trope. It really is like kind of the hinging factor of him staying, even though like he's got so much time invested with Randall, and it takes like a really like offhanded remark for them to even bring it up, while he's already like painting her toenails of all things. So like that's like kind of the next big focus thing, because when Becky walks in, we kind of get the tone of her character, because she's not even like, we don't get it's not her scene, it's Randall's scene, and he's like talking about dude, girls that come in, I believe the term he uses is barely legal. I don't know if that covers your bases or not, but be upset if you like. It's a movie, didn't happen. But he's talking about how like 17-year-olds are into everything, etc., 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 even ass to mouth. So it's sort of this very long conversation about ass to mouth, which the phrase you repeatedly gets said that you never go ass to mouth, which I could see on a bumper sticker. That's all I'm saying. But of course, as they're conversing, and Becky finally gets in, takes her jacket and her purse off. Like she admits to Dante that like in the heat of passion it's okay, and I think right there that like that's our first indication that it's something she's trying to show some kind of allure to him, like yeah, this is something you want right here. So it just you get that feeling right off the bat. You get the conversation that she's kind of saddled with these assholes, and that this whole thing is not her scene. It's just something she has to deal with. And as you kind of learn about her character, that definitely is what it is. She's there trying to take care of her grandfather, so she's there by obligation, because she doesn't want her grandpa to be sick. She doesn't want to be in Jersey, but she's there. She's dealing with the situation, and she's finding things she likes out of it, like Dante. So there's that. One of the best parts of this movie, it's one of the few parts that I repeatedly like refer to, is the Lord of the Rings conversation. Randall does his impression of the first three movies, and it's literally something like this. I'll reenact the scene for you. The second movie, and the third movie. And that's basically Lord of the Rings for you. Now, I know a guy who might even see this and just be horrified, shocked, and amazed. I think next time I see him, I'm going to do that impression of the movies for him, just to see what his reaction is live. But it is a movie about walking, and that's all it is. There's a lot of other stuff going on during the hike, but that's ultimately what the movie is, and it's not what it's about, but it's what it ended up being. Now, granted, the books have way too much detail, and thank God they didn't focus on all that, but we're not talking about Lord of the Rings right now. It's not time for bed. It's Clerks 2. It's funny. We're moving on. I'm going to be laughing throughout this whole podcast because every scene in here is something about it that makes me funny. But Randall ends up making fun of Lord of the Rings so hard by mostly talking about Frodo and Sam banging each other in and around the mouth area. That like the Lord of the Rings customer pukes. And that's something I've always wanted to do, is make fun of something so hard that somebody throws up. Whether or not I actually mean it, that's another thing entirely. Like, you like what you like. My opinions of how much the thing you like sucks should never affect how much you like the thing you like. My solid opinion and philosophy, and I'll stand by that. Okay. So Mrs. Hicks shows up. She's already come by before. She showed Randall her boobs. Not important. But she comes back by to give the wedding invitations out, because Dante's useless. Sorry. So we get to see Emma and Becky interact. At this point, we know that Dante and Becky have slept together, even though he's going to marry Emma. It's this weird love triangle thing. And it is, Randall mentions later in the movie, it's ridiculous that he always has two hot girls after him. And the obvious choice is never the one that he's going with. The obvious choice in the first movie was the girl with the lasagna. I fucking hate that I forgot her name. It's just, I'm blanking on it. And then in this movie, Emma is definitely not the choice that he wants. And while, yeah, you might make out good for a little bit, the more fulfilling choice in the long run, I really think, would be Becky, Rosario Dawson's character. I'm not just going based off like looks or anything there. It's the character that he connects with more. They connected so hard that like he knocked her up, so he's got obligations in Jersey regardless. In doing that, he broke faith with Emma, so that relationship's sinking, if not dead, as it is anyways. So just stay and have fun with the hot chick you knocked up. It's not hard. It's not a hard decision, really. Um, so okay, this is a terrifying moment in the movie. This is not a lull, but it's as close as you can get to a lull, because of the lack of action happening and still being enthralled. The Elias Virgin conversation is horrifying because he legitimately believes, I don't care how you spin this, Elias genuinely believes, as a character, mind you, not the actor or anything, believes that there's little trolls that live in women, but he doesn't have any, so obviously not men. I could only pray and hope that he was fucking with Randall, but he was so serious. The expression that Randall has is the exact expression that I felt while that scene's going on. Just, really? Listerfine is her mouth troll? Hope that donkey doesn't have a hiney troll. Jeez, we'll get there. And then we have the pickle fucker conversation. And Smith does nothing else better. He does smooth dialogue transition from scene to scene really well. You can see it really well in Mallrats. Clerks was maybe a little choppy because he was still kind of getting a hold of it, and they did it all for $28,000. Just saying. But you can see him like build and build and build as he's making movies, and in this, it's seamless. You won't believe what Elias just told me. Look who it is, Randall. It's Lance Dowse. That's almost literally how it goes, and so it just flows right in there. And it's apparently, and the importance of this guy showing up, distracting Randall from what he just heard, should be a significant thing. So there's that. So yeah, so the pickle fucker thing. This is stupid. Don't harass. Don't haze. That's the word I'm looking for. Don't haze people. It's just dumb. It doesn't serve any purpose other than make you feel good because you're closer to death than someone else. So get fucked. So there's whole thing in like their high school or whatever where like he had to walk with a pickle in his butt and then I'm not even doing that. So the point is that he made out really well, came back to make fun of specifically Randall and Dante, and Bekla, I believe. And Randall gets so rattled that he has to go karting, which I really think is an amazing character trait to give somebody. Like, I need to feel like a child again. He's a shit character when it comes down to it, but my God, what a great flaw to give somebody. It's like when they're stressed out, they need a lolly, something to remind them of back when things weren't so complicated and life was still ahead of you. I think that's the line. And I feel the same way when I have like the little candy root beers, because it's a candy like I got into like when I was a kid. I really don't have them that often, but let's see. So they come back to like just a packed movies, which if you go back and count, there's only like 5 people in line. But Elias is basically retarded. Becky can't do everything by herself. She can take the orders, and she can go like put a burger together, but like she can't. If you've ever been in those kitchens, you literally can't do everything by yourself in a timely fashion. Because every time you go to do something, you have to stop doing something else. Play Overcooked. You'll get the idea. So line's backed up. Elias is burning fries. Becky's pissed. So they're talking away, having weird conversations like they always do, apparently. And Randall's talking about like how he had to go blow off steam, and he's actually taking responsibility, and he's building up to this fucking whole thing where like he's actually seeming like a good guy until he says the word porch monkey, or the phrase. It's a phrase. And I'll be completely honest with you. Before I ever watched this movie, my understanding of that phrase was very similar to Randall's. It was like people who hung out on their porches. Because we're typically agree that we're monkeys. Like, as humans, we're apes. Which could mixed with monkeys quite often. In conversationally. So it was just people that hung out on their porches, and I never knew until this movie. So I'm glad there was a little PSA in this that that was a slur for black people. And then Randall goes on to example many more. And I don't know if you noticed, Becky's black. In 98% of scenarios, she's going to be considered black. I think the one case is going to be the hyperactive black people who are like, you ain't black enough, and that's whatever. I think most people are going to consider that. So she has to defend this retard against the black customers. Just trying to like not have to fire him, make sure that they're not too pissed off, but they probably just spent like $30 with all the food they had. And I don't understand not taking the food. Because I think especially the American thing to do would be to take the food and then still report them. But I guess taking the food makes you compliant somehow. And honestly, I'm starting to get sick of this because it's like every time I turn my head, this green screen freaks out. And I don't know what the problem is. Now it just decides it doesn't care anymore. Okay. So of course she disappears because why the fuck wouldn't you? You're the boss and dealing with that scenario. Fuck that. She's under enough stress as it is because we learn that she's pregnant. Her baby daddy's leaving. She's got to be stuck with Randall. And then Elias is nice enough, but he's fucking worthless. So Becky's like trying to deal with all her shit. And then I don't know if she realizes it is like a key to how to make her life better or not. But she goes and talks to Randall or Dante. And she asks him the question that all of you as friends are supposed to ask someone you know who's getting married. It's like, do you really want to get married? Are you ready for this? Are you freaked out at all? Because as a friend, you should care about those things. And then she's like, oh, I just figured nobody's asked you yet, so like I want to know. And he goes on to this weird diatribe about being afraid to dance at his wedding more than getting married, because he has the rest of his life to change opinions, which may or may not be true, but he's presumably only gets one chance to dance at his wedding. And what was it, like a burger peddling loser that can't even bust a move? It was a great fucking line. Smith writes some great dialogue for fucking bullshit that he gets into with the characters, and I really love some of the lines and stuff in this. It's great. It's great. Oh, now you want to eat the chicken, stupid cat. It's just sitting there for like an hour. So we got past Porch Monkey. Oh my god. So we have this like impromptu music video that happens during like the scenes and everything. I can't even begin to understand why you do it that way, but it's fun, and of course that's what he wanted to do, so he did it. And then it ends in this like dip where Dante's holding Becca. And you think, oh, they're actually gonna kiss. It's gonna be real. She tells him she tells him that she's pregnant, and he drops her. So of course she's no longer pregnant. That's not how it works, but it could have fucking hurt the baby, for reals. Don't drop pregnant women. It's not the message this movie intended to send. Trust me on that. Okay, so back inside. We're gonna shortcut a little bit of this. Dante tells Randall because Randall's his best friend, and why the fuck wouldn't he? Even though he's not supposed to tell anybody, so he's immediately betrayed the confidence of his baby mama. Very similar to how he broke loyalty with his fiance with his baby mama. So that's not to be surprised. And so after Randall knocks down a customer, freaking out about it, like they get dragged out, he drags them out back, which of course is going to draw attention, which isn't what you want. So not only does Jay get hurt in the fucking process because he gets bammed with the door twice, once when Dante comes out, once when Becca comes out. Becky obviously like follows him out there. Um, and immediately it's very obvious what's happening. It's like Dante just told Randall what happened, even though she expressly told him not to. Randall immediately fails because that's the kind of asshole he is, and then Dante hurts himself, literally, but as a figurative type of thing, by swinging at him and hitting the drive-through sign. So Dante is his own worst enemy. He's the guy who's destroying his own life in all this, and it's fucking hilarious. So of course this is the perfect time for Kinky Kelly and the Sexy Stud to show up. Oh yeah, I forgot. I glanced over that earlier in the movie that they that Elias assisted Randall in ordering a donkey show for Dante's going away party, which is ridiculous idea. And for the love of God, verify services that you are ordering one way or the other. If I order pizza, I pretty much know I'm getting pizza. If I don't want pizza that doesn't have certain things on it, I verify, make sure that I can make that happen. Get the information. But of course we're dealing with hapless idiots. Where is it at? Where's this magic position? Because it's usually when I'm reading. And I can see it out of the corner of my eye. Driving me crazy. So they get some bullshit. So he pushes Dante into the car and is like, "Go, come back in an hour." If your friends ever tell you that, A, they may not be your friends, but B, it's always bad. It's always bad. Be gone for X amount of time. It's always bad. Never do it. Immediately resist. I'm telling you. Like, I've never had a good experience with someone telling me, like, "Hey, come back in 2 hours. Come back in 1 hour. Come back at 4 o'clock. No, I'm not doing that, because obviously you're planning something in which I'm to take part unwillingly, and it's not going to be good. Let's see. So, of course, we go through this whole montage of Becky and Dante wrangling with creating a family. Not together, separate, mind you. And so Becky actually goes to the abortion clinic to, like, sit outside and contemplate, I guess. And then Dante ends up going to some fucking random house. Don't ever do this. Sitting outside and, like, the little girl eating family dinner or whatever, like it's fucking Thanksgiving. I don't know what that was. Some fictitious nonsense, which I believe was a young Harley Quinn. I could be wrong. Harley Quinn Smith, if you will. And she's like waving to him, and Dante's like waving. And then, see, the next step in any other scenario would have been like someone's calling the cops because some creepy dude is taunting my daughter. No. Had his hands in his pockets. He could have been accused of jerking off. All kinds of stuff. So, of course, when he finally comes back to the restaurant, it's filled with smoke for ambiance. Because the show's getting started. The show's getting set up. And so he calls the police. It's like, there must be a fire. And for some reason, this idiot makes the great decision of running into the place that's full of smoke. For any responsible person, like, you'd think, oh, maybe I can stop it. But it's already kind of filled with smoke. I mean, let it die. And he gets in there, and the whole thing's so bizarre looking, because I agree. Elias is hammered, so he's immediately distracted. Which was funny all on its own. You could have done like a whole YouTube series of Elias getting drunk. And it could have been taped from like the perspective, video recorded from the perspective of like Jay and Silent Bob. Or even Silent Bob. Like Elias and Silent Bob hang out. And just do videos of that guy being Elias, being drunk, and like the different adventures they get up to, and just Bob posting the videos. It would have been a hilarious like side gag. And as much as Smith is into new media, I don't think he understands doing new media as video. He gets podcasting because he likes talking, people paying attention to him, and telling stories, which is what making movies is. So, oh my god, the weird shit that happens while they're like this whole thing's going on, because of course the donkey comes out, the stud comes out, it turns out to be a gay donkey show, And then everyone just kind of goes, well, this is par for the course. Let's just keep drinking. Elias, again, is already hammered, so he's making all kind of lewd comments. He's not used to sexuality or porn, so, like, the combination of both happening in real life, along with the alcohol he's not used to, oh, my God. He's just like, I'll kiss you, wall. He's gonna jerk off. I'm gonna jerk off, too. God, what a fucking horrible but wonderful line that is. God. Okay, I have to address this question. Normally, I would just continue on. A podcast is typically where people get on and do a show. If you're by yourself, you can call it a vlogcast. I'm perfectly fine with that. So we're talking about Clerks 2. For what's called Bad Movie Club. You can check it over on WeAreMovieClub on the YouTubes. And we're all the way to the end of the movie, and there's not a lot to talk about, like, of this movie philosophically or anything, but oh my God. So the idea that they're just like, we paid for this donkey show, we're gonna make this happen. So Dante's in there freaking out, going through all the motions. Becca comes in, and she's just enthralled. I think the line is something like, I'm disgusted and repulsed, and I can't look away, which is how you should feel, I think, in those scenarios. But they're trying to talk and work things out, and they decide to get together. Of course, in the climax of trying, because normally, like, okay, movies happen in 3 acts typically. In the 3rd act is the climax. So you got this beginning, which you establish everything, the development in the 2nd act, and the 3rd act is the resolution and climax. So if this was a superhero movie, this is where they would fight the big boss. This is where they would take the challenge and go up against somebody. In this case, it's dealing with the donkey show and resolving all the social issues that they have. So it's just one thing after the fucking next. So Dante's trying to catch up with what's happening here, and it's just distraction. So Becky running in, being distracted by the donkey's dick. The fact that Dante's still there, that the restaurant's filled with smoke. Elias is hammered. Everyone's drinking. No one's focusing on any one thing in order to kind of go on. So for whatever reason, like, they start, or Becky and Dante start making out while Elias jerks off to the donkey show, crying about Jesus. Emma walks into, who the fuck knows what that girl thought, but she has cake. Cake is important. You can't deny the cake, and that's what the stripper did, because he's like going at the donkey, and he's just like, ooh, cake. Which is this movie's just full of, like, fucking funny, like, little one-liner things, and I think Zack and Miri honestly has about as much funny lines like that as this one does, but god damn, it just was not as well received. But you put porno in the title, and that's what happens. But we'll watch that next week. We'll get to. I'll circle back to talking about that for a minute. But so that's happening. Jay convinces, or accidentally tells Emma that Becky's pregnant with Dante's child. He has her hit him with the cake. The cops show up, sees Randall with porch monkey on his back. I'm sorry, I'm dying here laughing talking about it, because it's such a fucking wonderful, monumental buildup of things. So, of course, they all go to jail. I don't know if Becky went to jail now that I think about it. Who knows? Emma probably was gone by that point, because she threw the ring at Becky and runs out. But that's where, like, the monumental conversation of... thanks, Jack. Of, like, what they're gonna do with their lives, like what the resolution is, because we had the climax. Right, we're kind of in the resolve of the aftermath of the battle, if you will. So it's seamless transitions to conversation, because they're talking about prison structure, carbonite. Jay and Silent Bob are there just hanging out, watching the show. They're literally us watching these two have this conversation, but, like, all the way up close, like, fight, cage match. because I think Jake actually yells that at one point. And Dante's like strangling Randall because it's what they do. It's how they have fun. It's like cat dog. If you ever saw that shit. Oh man. Even to the point where like they're yelling at Jay because he keeps piping up. Because what else is he gonna do? And he's like, "What up, fat boy? This is your cue." And a wonderful line delivered by Kevin Smith, Silent Bob, if you will. I got nothing. Which I don't know if like he's talking about like his next movie or if he's talking about what his character has to say. So like they start fighting, Silent Bob and Jay start fighting, and then Randall immediately grabs the word pussy and he's like, "Oh, you must love this guy. He's a big pussy." And they basically had the big pussy conversation for like another 5-10 minutes. It's ridiculous how long it goes on. But it all comes down to like kind of a somewhat happy ending where they talk about like what they actually want. Because it's the first time in the movie that anyone's actually talking about what they want, what they have. And you got to remember too, like they're all kind of everyman characters. And Elias is passed out at this point, so fuck him as an everyman. But they represent, like, Randall represents the romantic side of things, so it's what could I dream of? Of all the things in the world, what do I want? I buy the Quick Stop and reopen it myself. So Quick Stop, if you don't remember, is the store that burns down at the beginning of the movie where they spent the whole last movie, Clerks 1, if you will. So and Dante's actually, you can see him recognize, be like, that would be great, but it's not pragmatic. It's not feasible. We can't do it because we don't have that money, negative Nancy bitch. And then Jay's like, yeah, we do. And so like it's this weird like joint investment thing. And if you think about it, it's actually kind of a world solution too, because it's about people coming together to meet objectives and make the world a slightly better place. Because you take that dump that was a burnt down set of stores and you reopen them, making them a nice serviceable business again. Oh god, and things are going so well, I guess, maybe. And since Dante obviously isn't going to Florida anymore, he's got to stay in Jersey with his fucking horrible life. And his life's not great, but he honestly enjoys it fairly well. And that's all that he was leaving behind, was all this joy for just pragmatism. So what he needed in his life, obviously, was the yin to his yang, the head to his tails. The other side of the coin, his Randall, to help make his life good enough so that he can believe enough in the romanticism of things. And it's the same kind of shit that he was telling Becky earlier. So of course he proposes to her in the shittiest way possible. I'm sorry, I get that she says yes. But like if your proposal includes ordering food from her through the drive-thru, I'm saying it's probably not the best way to go about that. And this is coming from a guy who doesn't like really feel like marriage as it is today, because I definitely don't enjoy the concept as a religious endeavor. I believe in pair bonding, if you want to do that. Legally, I don't believe in it either. But if you say, hey, I'm marrying you, I'm not fucking doing anything else for the rest of my life except you, I'm all about that. You got my heart right there. But I believe in open relationships and polyamory and things like that as well. But don't fucking do it from a drive-through. And the fact that that window's so damn big and that high too, because he's in a car, right? And so the things there, I'm doing cinema sense here basically. But so he's in the car and the window's like up here. It's like he has to reach up. And that's the thing that Jay climbed through earlier. So he does like the ring proposal from the car up to her, which I guess the angle's right. He's just not down on one knee. Maybe that's the problem I'm having. But my problem more is that the pregnant bitch slides from the window into the car without honking the horn, because that's something I've never had happen if I've got a lady on my lap. Maybe I haven't always been this fat, but maybe having a lady on my lap, I sit too close to the steering wheel or something, because that horn always gets honked, whether it's her butt, my hands, or whatever. Like, it never goes well. It's not a smooth transition like this movie makes it. I really got to be honest. Of course, as a family, as a fucked up family, the 5 of them, mind you, end up putting the RC video and quick stop back together, and kind of restoring like a natural order, if you will, back to the original quick stop in Clerks. Because if you look at the last scene, which if I remember it in black and white, I don't know if it's in black and white or not, but I remember it in black and white because it's so much like the first movie. So maybe it's like a return to form. So it could be that like this whole color scenario is just a psychedelic trip and dream that Dante's having to deal with the loss of it before it gets rebuilt. But I don't know. But of course they hire Elias to join them at the RST. So I don't know what happened to that movies. Like I don't know if the movie shut down or like maybe Becky still runs the movies. I don't know. Because you get to see pregnant Rosario Dawson at the end there, and that's kind of cute. And I'm sorry if you think pregnancy is gross, because I hear that sometimes. Pretty girl. Pretty girl is pretty girl, and pregnant girl is pretty. It's typically how it goes with me anyways. Doesn't really affect me too much. Okay, so next week, because we just talked about Clerks 2 a little bit. Next week we're gonna do Zack and Miri Watch Porno. So join us over on Rabbit/Camerai, for We Are Movie Club's Bad Movie Club. We're gonna keep going with the Kevin Smith series, even though we're out of the Jay and Silent Bob saga. We're gonna do Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Let me bring up the list here because I got it right here. We're gonna do Jersey Girl. I think is the one maybe after that. That would make sense. After that, though, it's really a fucking toss-up. Because I think at that point, I'm going to go ahead and do... Oh, my God. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure it out week by week. But we've got Zack and Miri Make a Porno. We've got Cop Out, Jersey Girl, Red State, Vulgar, which maybe belongs here. It's kind of fucked up. So maybe that would be the good point to do Jersey Girl and Vulgar next. Because Red State's actually a pretty good movie, but it is a Kevin Smith movie, so it's going to go here. So maybe Cop Out, Red State, and then that'll take us into the horror movies. And then once that's all done, we'll Hulk it a little bit. That'll lead us into the superhero run. Okay, I'll figure it out. But until you see me next time, I am Camerai, and this is a little bit of been a bit of Bad Movie Club. Right here on #WeAreMovieClub. You want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations and they'll take us to your other channels. Thanks for watching.